Hello, welcome to Cousin Jack Foodie. Thanks for watching the video today. We're going to do a recipe today from my family's past called Swiss onions. I'll go over the ingredients here. You got 7 large onions, can of cream of chicken soup, white pepper, stick of butter, and that's about 2.5 pounds of Swiss cheese, believe it or not. Sounds like quite a bit, but that's what you need for the recipe. We're going to start out by peeling the onions, obviously, and then slice them into about 3/4, maybe 1-inch thick strips. You want them all chunked up like that, pretty thick. Just leave them all together. It gets to be kind of a mess there, but if you cut them about 3/4 of an inch thick, that's about right. Before you cook them, you don't want them falling apart in the pot or in the oven. Again, it's about 7 large onions. Yellow onions work best. Brown will work also. And we're going to drop the butter in the pot and put about half the onions in. I like to do these in 2 separate batches just so they cook a little slower. You want it just about medium heat. You don't want them brown at all, really. You just want to sweat them out until they're the texture that you want. So usually takes about 15 minutes just on a medium heat. And once you get about half of them in there, you can go ahead and stir them up. Add just a little bit of kosher salt, but probably for half the onions, about a couple of teaspoons of kosher salt. Stir that around in there good, and then again, not too high heat, just about medium. Works fine. And then throw your cover on, and that'll help to sweat them down just a little bit slower. And you want to remove your onions. This is the first batch. You take them out to the consistency you want. You want just a little bit of a bite to them. You don't want them too firm, because they won't cook much longer in the oven. So kind of just a medium chewy texture, if you will, is about right. And then you can, once you get all those out, you can add just a touch more butter to the pot. You can see the texture right there. Add a touch more butter to the pot and the rest of your onions for the second batch, same way. Here we've got both batches all cooked. You don't really need to cool them. And I'm going to add here a nice dash of white pepper. I like quite a bit of this in there. And then, of course, garlic powder to your taste, whatever you think's right. And you want to mix these around in really good. I don't think I mentioned you want to drain the onions pretty well. You don't want a lot of moisture in there. You're going to get a lot of moisture from the cheese we're going to add here in a minute. So stir that around well. Then we're going to add in the can of cream of chicken soup. Again, don't add any milk or anything, just the 1 can. And then get this mixed in there as well as you can. It gets a little bit harder when the cheese gets in the mix, so mix that up as good as you can. Nice consistent mixture. And then we're going to start adding the Swiss cheese. And again, this is about 2.25 pounds of Swiss cheese, which sounds like a lot, but that's pretty much the body of the whole dish. So you want to work that in a little bit at a time to evenly distribute it. You don't want to wind up with big chunks of Swiss cheese through the thing after baking. Just add about 1/3 of it at a time and keep mixing it until it's all nice and distributed in there. The last of the onions last of the Swiss cheese going in. And again, just a nice consistent mix. Take your time with this. You don't want to mash up the onions too badly, but just if you kind of try to turn them in and toss them, it'll work out fine. There we have it, all mixed and ready to put in the pan. I like to use about a 9x13. It could be, depending on how much big your onions were, you might need to adjust the size of it a little bit. But you don't want it too thin in there. You want it to pretty much fill up the pan once you get it, all the onions in there. Pack them in a nice even layer. This is just a little bigger than, I think this is more like a 10x14 Pampered Chef pan I used here. So, and again, just fill all the voids in the corners and along the edges and smooth out the top a little bit as well as you can. Well, it'd be clever. You could sprinkle a little parsley on top there, give it a little bit of color, but no real need to. Then we're going to cover this tightly with aluminum foil, or if you have a lid, tight-fitting lid, put that on. And we're going to put it in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour. You can kind of judge by the consistency. And I like to take the lid off and run it under the broiler for just a couple of minutes to brown the top, caramelize it a little bit. And there you have it, Swiss onions. Thanks for watching.